Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new self-titled Shamir album. Shamir, Las Vegas singer-songwriter, been at it for a few years now, who really excited the hell out of me in the early days of the project. The Northtown EP, the Ratchet album, these were albums and projects that brought together the sounds of electronic and dance and indie pop and disco. Singles like On the Regular and Call It Off seriously excited me. But ever since, let's be honest, Shamir has been rather puzzling. The Hope follow-up album that followed up Ratchet was more of an experiment in lo-fi bedroom pop than anything, a real departure. And honestly, it was very hit and miss. Revelations and Resolutions both sounded better, had a couple of better tracks, also some really angsty post-grunge sounding tunes as well, but to me, Shamir had a real issue with focusing, and albums like Be the Ye, Here Comes the Haw, as well as Cataclysm really just cemented that. Once again, there were a lot of great tracks on here, but as a whole project was very hit and miss. My word though, Shamir has brought a slew of really sharp singles to the table for this new album. Let's chat about it. This album starts off with On My Own, and right off the bat, instantaneously, it sounds like Shamir is very far from that lo-fi bedroom pop they were going for a couple of years ago. It's much more glamorous and glitzy sounding, much better produced, but at the same time, still very DIY sounding. But it's just so triumphant and heartfelt. This to me sounds like what Shamir should have been aiming for with albums following up the Ratchet album. And honestly, this may be the best track here. It's deep and personal, but also super catchy, super likable. This is a very exciting start. As a matter of fact, a lot of this album really excites me. It sounds like Shamir has finally gotten on track. Paranoia, on the other hand, takes me back to a couple of the last Shamir projects. It's got almost like a grungy riff to it. And once again, it's still a little DIY. It's still a little lo-fi in parts. But it's so much more structured and passionate compared to where Shamir has been. It's just a really well-rounded, well-written track about paranoia. It is great. Running is another just great breath of fresh air. This one's more upbeat and carefree. I mean, if I had to make one sort of complaint about this album, I think that Shamir really needs to focus on one sound, because we got a lot of different sounds on this album, trust me. But for now, this assortment of sounds and personalities and moods all clashing together on this album is exciting in its own right. But for me, for right now, I'm just happy that Shamir is making the music they've wanted to for a long time now. Other Side is a completely different story, another wonderful surprise. This one is a much more upbeat and rowdy all-country jam. It's got great pacing and a ton of excitement, and Shamir's vocals here may be the best here. To be honest, I didn't know Shamir had this to offer, and it makes me really kind of wish I'd hear more of this sound. And Pretty When I'm Sad is one of the most emotionally crushing tracks here. It's deeply personal and seriously intense. But the eclectic sounds of this album continue. This one is easily the most bulky, pummeling track here. But from a songwriting standpoint, this is just a really sharply written track once again. There are some really little details about this album that I absolutely hate. For one, the short little interludes that we get here are absolutely mind-numbing. Jungle Pussy Juice does nothing but really waste just a couple of seconds of my time. I mean, I usually couldn't bash on like little interludes like this too much, but they really do mess up the flow of the album. I have the same exact thoughts on River Is About to Die in This Garage, and there we go. Like I said, they're not necessarily bad or tragically wrong, but for me, they really do just mess up the flow of this album. Diet is really good though. It does remind me of like the good parts of the Cataclysm album from Shamir. It's much more streamlined though, very well written. As eclectic as this album is, it does remain very personal, very interesting. Now, there's no wild formula here. There's nothing really groundbreaking. It's just Shamir doing what they want to do, glossing up their sound just enough, writing some incredibly catchy material, and putting out great music. Oh man, but let me tell you, Shamir is so close to making like another truly great album, but I still can't give this completely high marks because I think that this album just ends off a little flat. I wonder, from a distance, sounds so grandiose, so larger than life. But man, I just wish it went that little extra distance. I really do. When that subtle beat pops in about halfway through, honestly, I thought this track was about to take off into some sort of new disco jam the like we would have heard on Ratchet. But no, it's not that. As a matter of fact, some of the production on this track is some of the worst we hear on this entire album. It also just doesn't progress at all. And In This Hole as a finale is really a shame as well. This instrumental is absolutely stunning, one of the most interesting ones here, but Shamir just doesn't sound up to the task of taking it on. As a matter of fact, some of the vocals on this track are pretty awkward. Not to mention, Shamir and this instrumental can never really seem to be on the same page, it seems. It makes me think that Shamir isn't quite there just yet. Closer than ever, but just not right there yet. So you know what? I still haven't heard that album from Shamir that has put me onto their music as much as Ratchet did years ago. But with how much music Shamir has been putting out in the last 3 or 4 years, which is a lot, Shamir's dropped like 5 albums. Honestly, this is by far the best of all of them, because with each of those passing releases, I was getting less interested by Shamir by the second. Some of the singles here, as a matter of fact, most of the singles here, are freaking great and like a real testament to Shamir's music. But between these asinine interludes and some of the later tracks that kind of drop the ball, I can't give this a perfect rating just yet, but Shamir is certainly closer than ever to really dropping a fantastic album. For now, though, I'm feeling a decent 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.